Hey, family, we are so excited to bring another episode of Theology in 30 to the Hope TV. Just a little history for those who may be joining us for the first time, and welcome. Theology in 30 was birthed in 2018, and I hosted a few episodes on Instagram and Facebook. So I have to stop and thank my senior pastor and our executive producer, Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., for the opportunity to bring Theology in 30 back for a second season. Thank you, Pastor. Now I'd like to share a little bit about the purpose of the show. Theology in 30 evolved or was birthed out of my desire to engage in theological discourse with my friends, colleagues, mentors, family, and people who are just curious about theology. So let me pause right here to say that you don't have to be a theologian or a preacher to watch and enjoy Theology in 30. And I want to stop right here to thank all of our supporters. You've been rocking with us for an entire year and then for our second season, and we just want you to know that we appreciate you. So y'all already know what I need you to do. I need you to talk to me in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're watching from so that I can engage you during this episode. Finally, we want to grow. We want to grow our viewing audience, so we need your help. I need all of our viewers to do two things. We want you to follow us on Instagram at The Hope TV and then share this link from our page to yours. Thank you so very much. Now, during our last episode, we talked about rhetoric and preaching. Y'all remember? And our guest, Dr. Reginald Bell Jr., was just getting started when we had to end our episode. So I invited him back to continue our conversation. So during today's show, I said today's show, Dr. Bell is going to define for us the meaning of Black sacred rhetoric. Yes, we're going to talk about Black sacred rhetoric today. And so I want to share a brief introduction of who our guest is, Dr. Bell. I want to share a brief introduction about him for those who were not here last week, who did not hear me introduce him the first time. He is the Reverend Dr. Reginald Bell Jr. He obtained his Master of Divinity degree from Emory University, Candler School of Theology, my alma mater, where he received the John Owen Smith Preaching Award. He also earned a Doctor of Philosophy degree from the University of Memphis, where he was awarded the John Angus Campbell PhD Teaching Award. In addition, he served as an executive pastor, pastor of preaching, teaching, pastor of evangelism, pastor of singles, and pastor of youth and children at numerous churches in numerous denominations. He is also the co-author of 600 plus illustrations for sermons and other speeches, which is scheduled for release in December. And I'm excited about that. I'm a part of that work. So, Theology in 30 family, I need you to put some love in the comments as we welcome back for a second episode, the Reverend Dr. Reginald Bell Jr. Put some love in the comments for him. Dr. Bell, say hello to everyone today.
Thank you. Thank you all for the love that you are showing. Also, Pastor Jen, thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank you for your ministry. As I said last week, I've known you for over, I believe, 16 years. And, last week we had an opportunity to talk when we finished recording, and we just, talked about how one of the reasons you're so awesome is because of your parents. So thank you very much for your ministry. Thank you for embracing your community and the way they reared you. Just thank you for being an amazing person. I also want to thank Dr. Smith for this opportunity and for his vision.
And I'm so glad that you came back. We are so honored to have you. And when we ended last week, you remember when we were off camera, when we ended last week, we were discussing some of the characteristics of sacred rhetoric. So let's pick back up there. Talk to me about the characteristics of sacred rhetoric, if you can.
Ernesto Grassi gives us a definition of rhetoric as sacred language. And then we're going to look at some of the work of a communication scholar named Malif Asante. But in terms of the first characteristic of sacred rhetoric, it says that it has a purely revealing character, not a demonstrative or proving function. It does not arise out of a process of inference, but authoritatively proclaims the truth. Now, here's one of the ways to understand that first characteristic that I just read, the definition of the first definition that I just read, and also some of the research I'm doing. And I think this will help you to sort of think through how you construct, in your prayer time and when you're producing your sermons, how you construct your sermons. So
Yes.
here's a concept: second persona. Second
Come
persona.
on.
Okay.
Come
All
on with
right.
the persona.
Audience construction. Second persona. Second persona comes from a rhetorician by the name of Edwin Black, and he wrote an
Yes.
article about this notion of second persona. Now, that definition I read, that definition that I just read, it talks about how it has a purely revealing character, not a demonstrative or proving function. Now, so when you think about Joel Osteen, so my dissertation was about Joel Osteen. I mentioned in the last episode that, again, he was the topic of my dissertation. And so in studying his second persona, here's what you should think of when you think of second persona. Think of a parent having a child. Now, if you want to understand who a parent is, look at the child. Look
Okay.
at the thing or the being or the material that a parent spends time with a child. Okay, so when you think about your preaching or Joe Osteen's preaching, every week he's spending time, he's honing his craft, he's producing something, and that something that's produced is called the second persona. Okay, so just like a parent creates a child and the child grows and becomes an adult, the child acts a certain way because of the time that the parent spent molding and shaping it. Okay, so that's second persona. All of us have a second persona. I can take your sermons, anybody's sermons, and just look at your work, and your work will reveal what is called tokens. Tokens meaning when people listen to your sermons, we ask them to become something. We ask them to do something. We're always doing that in every sermon that we do. Now, Joel Osteen, some people disagree, but technically, Joel Osteen uses the Bible when he preaches. There's scripture throughout his sermons. He uses the Bible. Now, some of you are sitting there thinking, well, but he doesn't use it right. Okay, that's fine. That's not why I'm talking about that. Here's what I want to focus on. Because notice I'm showing the difference between sacred Black rhetoric and, I guess, sacred rhetoric, or the way some other people preach. Here's what I'm saying. Osteen does base what he asks people to become on the Bible. Whether you agree with how he does it or not, he still uses the Bible to ask people to become something in the world. Now, here's what I discovered. Yes, he's a prosperity gospel preacher, but he also is more specifically concerned about health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships. He's different from other prosperity gospel preachers because he adds the relationship piece to it, which is very important. Okay, any sermon he preaches, is going to help people do one of those three things. So he's very focused. He's very intentional in everything that he does. And he uses the Bible to prove that this is what people should want to be and do with their lives. All right, are you all with me? Now, in terms of the Black preacher, or, last week I talked about, it's good to understand rhetoric, the context of rhetoric, because the Bible, or the people that we read about in the New Testament, they lived in a period where the main education was rhetoric. So the people we read about in the Bible lived, that was a macro system that affected everything they did. So when you think about the Black preacher has always served a different material purpose in the world than non-Black preachers or white preachers. Okay? The Black preacher. Now, here's the thing. In terms of the, and sacred it says it has a purely revealing character that is not demonstrative. Here's the thing. Even with the Bible, in terms of sacred Black rhetoric, calling people into something, sometimes what the person stands and says is not traditionally viewed in the Bible. For example, the Bible to not validate or confirm women to preach. And they take the side they reread and they cannot see that women should be able to preach. It is the same way that some people use the Bible to justify slavery. So in terms of the Black preacher, and when the Black preacher was created, the Black preacher, sacred rhetoric, it has a purely revealing character. Like whatever you're saying is not always based in, okay, I can go somewhere and prove this point that I just tried to make. No. Sacred rhetoric, it's authoritative by itself. It's a deep conviction in what God has called you to do as a Black person, understanding what's going on in the material world.
How did this happen so fast? We talked about so many things, got a lot of different perspectives. Although I am very much so would like to be married, I am not rushing it.
I did see a post and it was like, you're so concerned about Sierra's prayer that you don't even pray over your food.
What?
Remember to pray over your food. You know what I'm saying? Like, pray for yourself.
All right, let's try this.
COVID has been a really long fight, and it's been especially tough on kids.
It's been a rough transition for all of us.
Right now, as a father, I want to give the best tools to protect my kids.
So what can we do to get back to that sense of normalcy?
Many parents are asking if it is worth it to get their kids vaccinated against COVID.
The answer is absolutely yes.
My own sons, who are 6 and 8 years old, had their COVID vaccine.
It's an added layer of protection to keep kids from getting any type of severe illness or complications from a COVID infection.
A lot of parents are also wondering if the vaccines are safe.
Yes, it's safe and effective for children.
Definitely safer than a COVID infection.
Children get a smaller dosage than adults do.
So if you have questions or concerns about the vaccine, that's okay.
We're here to help.
We have the tools we need to protect kids and help them stay healthy and all get through this together.
We're back on our Thanksgiving installation.
So a couple of things. I want to clarify for our audience because, this is where you play. Intellectually and academically, you play in the area of Black sacred rhetoric. And so some of the terms that you're sharing, I'm familiar with because I had Dr. Andre Johnson. But our audience may not as familiar with. So I want to slow down a little bit and go back to something because you said something really key when you talked about there is a such thing as sacred rhetoric. Okay, my thought for that or scholar that I look at for that definition is Deborah K. Sugar, who talks about sacred rhetoric being emotive, right? It's something that stirs. It has a religious or spiritual quality. She even says at the end of her article on this, she says the Holy Spirit is a sacred rhetor. So I want to start. Right. So I want to just kind of full stop, explain to our audience that we're making a distinction here. Sacred rhetoric being this emotive, soul-stirring language that emerges in sermons. That's sacred rhetoric. Put a pin right there. And then Dr. Bell is explaining to us, or how I understand what he's saying, is that this whole piece of Black sacred rhetoric has a different motive. It has a different motive. Now, while it is religious, while it is spiritually led, while it is soul stirring, what I hear you saying is it concerns itself with the Black story. It concerns itself with the rhetorical exigencies which emerge in the Black experience. Am I understanding you correctly? Because I want to make sure.
Yes, ma'am, you are. Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
you are. And I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to be a good student here. So I'm giving you
And
back what you gave us. So then I want to move to something because we won't have that much time. We don't have that much time. I want to move to something you said off camera. You said Joel Osteen can be considered a sacred rhetor, or he may use sacred rhetoric. But Dr. Dewey Smith Jr., my pastor, he does Black sacred rhetoric, or as you said, sacred Black rhetoric. I like the way you put the Black in the middle. So talk to us about what makes Dr. E. Dewey Smith a Black sacred rhetor. Go there for us.
Okay. So I want us to, as we think about rhetoric and how we should probably be concerned with it, think of Asante's work where he says, instead of a Eurocentric understanding of rhetoric, more of us should embrace rhetoric in an Afrocentric sense is the productive thrust of language into the unknown in an attempt to create harmony and balance in the midst of disharmony and indecision. Rhetoric is not a science, it is an art. Okay?
I love it.
So I had the opportunity to attend a funeral recently that Pastor Smith preached, and it was the funeral of the prominent rapper named Trouble. So here's the first clip that I want you all to look at. It is about 3 minutes long. So here's the first clip that'll sort of set the context of what we experienced during that service.
They talk about my brother for 20-some years, and I could never find the words. I want my MLB brothers up here with me because they're what he created. Y'all boy, come up here with me, bro. It ain't no disrespect to nobody, but this trouble creation, this what he created. I tried to write shit down. I tried to do everything in the world to find the words, but I just couldn't find the words because this was a real special guy, man. And he just never judged nobody, always accepted people, so ambitious, fearless, a woman's man. I'm talking about just an all-around great creation, man. And we always used to talk about not leaving the earth, man. We never planned this. We used to always talk about, bro, how we gonna make it out. You see what I'm saying? And this guy right here, man, he brought all us together, bro. I'm talking about millions different of personalities, but everything was real and genuine with you, man. And today, bro, I just really want to give you your flower, bro. I can't make no speech, bro. I want to tell you, bro, we love you so much, bro. And I appreciate you, bro. Your brother, man. Back in high school, I gave her the name Dude. And ever since then, you know, I ain't called him Trouble in 15, 20 years. I always call him Dude. You see what I'm saying? And he just always been there for me. I always made sure, man. Scale, come on, bro. Scale, come on, bro. Scale, come on, bro. Whatever he made sure people who really loved him, he made sure they was in whatever he doing, man. He gonna not stand in front of you, he gonna stand beside you. You see what I'm saying? And I want to tell you, bro, from the bottom of my heart, man. Your whole MLB family right here with you right now. Your fans out here right now, bro. We love you, bro. We'll never forget you, bro. And your name will forever ring on. We ain't got no hand dog in here right now, bro. But we gonna hold our hands up right now, bro. And we gonna take that toe, bro. Good health, longevity, and big old bag. Thug life. Thug life, man. Love you, brother.
What stood out in this clip for you as the rhetoric scholar on Theology in 30 tonight?
So, in terms of what you heard, what you saw, I'm sure some of you are probably still trying to get off the floor. Oh my God, that happened in the church, the sacred space. One of the things that I love about what happened is, well, one of the things the speaker said was, we always used to talk about not leaving earth, but getting out. And that's the same way it is with most of us. Most of us, as we dream about the future, all of us, and truth be told, many of us go to church hoping to get some instruction on how to move forward in the future. We aren't necessarily talking about on a daily basis when I die. No, we're all talking about in some shape, form, or fashion how to get out. What I appreciate about what we saw is that although they use, different language at times and they have different practices, we're all the same people. We all have the same goal, but we talk about it in a different way. At the end of the day, all of us are trying to survive. So I appreciate Pastor Smith for just creating that opportunity for, in the sacred space for what is considered by many to be profane, unholy, but we see all this taking place right there, okay? In the same space, because we are the same people, all right? So in this next clip, Pastor Smith explains why he was selected to preach the funeral.
Rhetorical situation. Let's watch.
I was thinking early on my way here about my first encounter with Marielle, with trouble. And it actually happened when he came to worship with us here in Jug. And he made a post on his IG that day. And the post that he made was, "I like going to church today because church was gangster." And sometime later, I had the opportunity to do some production with him along with Desi Banks. And we produced something together with him. And he said to me, "I like it when you speak because you keep it gangster." I've been a preacher for a long time, and I've heard people say the Lord blessed me through the message, or the message encouraged me, or the message inspired me, your sermon gave me hope. I never met nobody that said your sermon was gangster.
So as I watched Pastor Smith, explain, church was gangster. I mean, one of the things I thought about was Thomas G. Long, who's a homiletician, prominent homiletician. But one of the things he talks about as he described the role of the preacher is that the preacher is one who basically rises from the audience, rises from among the people.
Exactly.
Okay? Pastor Smith, he's college educated, but one of the things that he has the ability to do, the skill set to do, is to appeal to both the college educated and the gangsters. Every now and then, if we are being responsible preachers, we should try to figure out what the streets are saying about us. Okay, yeah, you got the talented 10th, college educated. Okay, that's one group. But what about the people who, the gangsters or the people who didn't go to college, or people who never went to school? What do they have to say about you? Okay. But I just love the fact that Pastor Smith, he's representing all the people.
Today, we're talking about caregiving and self-care.
My heart goes out to caregivers. When she was caregiving for her mom, she didn't take care of herself. And unfortunately, a year after I met her, she died because she didn't have the same type of care that she provided her mom and that she showed me how to provide to my father. You have to take care of yourself. You know, I heard someone say that caring for someone who once cared for you is one of the highest honors you can give.
I love that. I think about my parents and they raised me, like you said, and now we help them.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
Welcome back to another edition of Cooking with Flavor KL. Today, we're going to make a blueberry delight. So we're going to have a pecan and graham cracker crust, bottom of pie crust. We're going to have some Cool Whip and cream cheese filling, and then we'll have that blueberry pie filling on the top. Let's get those spatulas, guys. Let's go.
In this next clip, is only about 20 seconds. This next clip is only about 20 seconds. Here it is.
I want to talk for a few minutes from this thought. You can't kill trouble. You can't kill trouble. It all started in the Garden of Eden in the heart of Africa.
I really appreciated that moment because, you know, Dr. Smith is not afraid to honor Black history and to honor the African roots of the Bible. Okay, I have heard several preachers make arguments against the validity of such groups as the Hebrew Israelites. They are very popular in Birmingham now, as they are in many metropolitan cities. One of the reasons they appeal to Black people, or many Black people, is because they aren't ashamed to talk about the African roots of the Bible. They embrace that. And so because they embrace talking about the African roots of the Bible, it demonstrates continuity between, you know, the people in the Bible and us today. Pastor Smith does that. That's why people such as Trouble feel comfortable around a place like the House of Hope, because they know that the House of Hope, Pastor Smith, are not ashamed of their Blackness. Jen, I saw a few things about the House of Hope and Pastor Smith's commitment to honoring Africa and Black preaching in his sermon that he preached. Could you please expound on the next clip?
So we'll watch this clip. We want you to put a bow on it for us, because this has been powerful and so helpful.
Pastor Smith, you know, everybody understood the elephant in the room, which is that Trouble was killed while he was at the home of a woman who, you know, her ex-boyfriend found out about it, and that's how he was killed.
Cain killed Abel because he's filled with envy and jealousy. Yeah, envy and jealousy. When when he saw the respect that Abel's offering got from God, he got so enraged, so angry, that what he did, he saw how the Most High responded to Abel. And Cain got so mad that he killed his brother. And I had to ask the question, for what? For what reason, Cain, did you have to kill your brother? Okay, your first offering didn't work. You had time to go get another sacrifice. God didn't respect your first offering. Go get another one. You had time to start over, to do something else. But you decided to kill your brother, Cain. For what? At the end of the day, for nothing. It is amazing how sometimes even we have a tendency to kill our brothers, but can't kill our emotions. We kill our brothers, but can't kill temporary madness in a moment. And we kill our brothers, but not realizing that we're also killing the futures and killing those who love us, and killing our parents, and killing our mamas, and killing our children, and killing our communities. Isn't it amazing how we can kill each other, that life has no meaning with each other? Not because you're defending yourself, but for nothing. And what is so sad here, in this instance, you kill your brother for what? Kill each other for what? For a relationship?
He humanized trouble.
You cannot silence the voice of Abel. And it hit me. It hit me. Abel is still speaking. That Abel still has a voice. That Abel still got something to say. Can I tell you something? Trouble. Do music and rap and how he treated people, expressed the language of his culture, tell stories of the streets of real struggle, but yet he used his wealth, he used his platform to provide for his family. Man, it brought tears to my eyes to see him talking about when he was able to get that house for his mama. And about his mama, never have to worry about putting her head down no more. You ought to give God praise for it. Let's give his mama a hand. That thing blessed me. He took care of his mama. What the greatest thing a man could do, provide for his mama. And not only that, his music helped him provide for his family. He got along with people, wanted to put a smile on people's faces. And then what blessed me a few years ago, he saw how Atlanta was getting crazy and shooting and sensitive stuff, that he worked with people to come up with guns down and water guns up. And I chuckled when I saw him talk about going to the club where girls wore tight clothes, and he wanted to spread some water and put water on their head to have fun, because his whole desire was, how do we stop the senseless killings and sponsor something? And 800 people showed up with a 2 or 3 day notice. You know why? Because his voice was still speaking. He was trying to say, this ain't the Atlanta I know. Things are going crazy. People are moving here and doing all kinds of crazy things. He used his platform to make a difference. Now, I want to say to all of us, when God has blessed you and given you platform or means, it's not just for you. What will you do with your platform? Whether you're in rap, music, sports, entertainment, law, education, would you do something with your platform to make life better and make the community better? He was about trying to make it better. As a matter of fact, just 10 days before his death, on May 25th, after several recent mass shootings in Buffalo and in Texas, here's what he posted on Instagram. 29 innocent victims in 7 days. 19 children and 10 OGs gunned down for nothing. As I'm sitting here thinking, dog, I have no answers, but I do feel as if we need to return to the big God. Lynching has been going on since the beginning of time to our people. Though we're still going through it, in a sense, it did better for us from the fight of our ancestors put up for us. Malcolm, Martin, Rosa, Fred Hampton, etc. The only difference I see between our ancestors and us is through every tragedy, struggle, and battle they had. In every instance it happened, they gathered and prayed to the big God and came together as one. That's how the songs became to be made. The stuff we go through, millions now making money off talking junk, dividing each other up, racing to see who can get the most material gains. There's no love out here or real reasoning. Just lust and wishes of having tickets. And then he put this scripture in Luke 9:26. For whosoever is ashamed of me and of my words. Of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in his glory and the glory of the Father and the holy angel. Blessings and peace and blessing to everybody. And then he closes it out, hashtag thug love.
Pastor Smith masterfully helped all of us to reimagine trouble. He's more than a rapper or more than a member of Thug Life. And he eulogized him not as a rapper, not as a member of Thug Life, but as a cultural leader who used his gifts, talents, money, and social media platform to help Black people to rise above their dreadful plight. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Here's how I want to close. And as I'm closing, one of the ways to support my ministry is to follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Reginald Bell Jr., or follow me on Twitter at Reggie Bell Jr. I would love to, dialogue with you. If you have a question, send me a question. But here's how I want to close. I want to close with a quote from Dr. Gardner C. Taylor. And Dr. Gardner C. Taylor talks about something called the throbbing heart of God. He says that preaching that gets closest to the throbbing heart of God is preaching that rises out of circumstances touched and tinged with heartbreak that sees and senses and says something of the heartbreak of God. Throbbing heart of God preaching does not make listeners further victims. Instead of harping on what people are or are not doing, legitimate hope-giving preaching, that's what Pastor Smith gives. Legitimate hope-giving preaching sees past the false dichotomy of sacred versus secular and focuses the sermonic energy on bringing harmony in the midst of disharmony. Instead of mostly addressing actions that break the heart of the dominant white culture, such as marijuana smoking, the use of profanity, gang culture, rap culture, a true sacred Black rhetorician with a grasp of the oppressive rhetorical situation devotes energy to what really matters, which is setting the captives free. I believe that's Luke 4. Jesus, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Thank you.
This has been life-giving. Let me pause here to say that you've challenged us, and I want to thank you for your honesty, for your authentic approach, but most importantly, for your mind. I mean, you really unpacked this whole idea of Black sacred rhetoric for us, and for that, I am grateful. Just to backtrack and just to leave some words of summary, what I hear Dr. Bell telling us is that if we want to be responsible with this preaching gift and with the gospel, we've got to know the language of the folk. We got to know what the streets are saying. And we have to hear the Black experience and those who we minister to and live among. So I love this. This is my kind of preaching. Dr. Frank Thomas, my mentor, one of my mentors, one of your mentors, talks about us dropping the gospel on conquered bodies and destroyed lives. And that's the kind of approach that I hear you telling us about and teaching us about tonight. So thank you. This is Theology in 30 on the Hope TV. We are the House of Hope Atlanta, and Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr. is our senior pastor. We believe that life with God is better in every way, every day. And we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Theology in 30. See you next week, family.